I would like to call the City of Apache Junction Health and Human Services Commission meeting to order. And then we'll go ahead and begin with the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Sure. Commissioner Kinner? Here. Present. Vice Chair Erickson? Here. Commissioner Brennan?
Here.
Commissioner Bory? Here. Chairman Mitchell?
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Consent agenda. I move that the Health and Human Services Commission accept the agenda as amended and approve the meeting minutes from January 24th, 2022, the regular meeting.
I second.
Okay. Roll call.
Commissioner Kinner?
Yes.
Commissioner Bory?
Yes.
Commissioner Brennan?
Yes.
Vice Chair Erickson?
Yes.
Chairman Mitchell?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And moving on to public hearings. This is one question I was going to have. Is this where we're going to do the presentations for the different nonprofits?
So that will fall under the new business. So, yeah, this is, a public hearing is like rezoning or something, and
Sure.
the applicant needs to plead their case.
Mm-hmm.
This is not such,
We have none, do we?
pardon?
We don't have any today, do
We
we?
do not have it.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and move on. Old business, we also have none on the agenda.
Business.
So new business is the discussion of applications for fiscal 2023 human services funding.
So before we begin, I would like to lay out the process for how we're going to do this evening. This has never really truly been formalized, so I do want to let you know. I know Matt's back there. You'll have 5 minutes to give your presentation. The timer sits right up there. When the yellow light goes on and there is a buzzer, that is your 1 minute warning to wrap up and summarize the key points that you wish to address. Please remain at the podium. At that time, I will review certain aspects of the application that you submitted. There is a pad of paper and a pen up there if you'd like to write down a few things that I noticed that we would like addressed. And then after that, the commission members will also probably have questions for you. And when Chairman Mitchell asks if there's any more questions of your application, and there are none, he will call the next applicant. At that time, you'll come to the podium, and again, I'll go through the application, make some notations of what I found or what was missing, and ask that you supply that information. Just that you know, the application needed to be in full by January 31st. If it was missing something, I am not asking you for something so that your application will be considered. The deadline was the 31st, and if it was incomplete, it is incomplete and will not be subject to funding.
I would also say after your presentations, you're welcome to leave, but by sticking around, you might see a little bit more about some of the things that might be concerns in the future too. So it's a good idea probably to stick around if you can. We have Boy Scouts listed here for the first presentation, so any representation from the Boy Scouts?
And Chairman Mitchell, I think I owe you an apology. While at the time I received the application, it said it was an incomplete application, I would like to double check with them because my staff member has said this is now a complete application.
Fantastic.
So do we have
Yeah.
the applicant present?
Yeah, we have applicant
Come on down to
representations
the
present.
podium,
So.
please.
So 5 minutes to go ahead and,
But actually,
Yeah.
let me address a few things
Yeah.
with your application, and if you want to take a pen and write it down, you can do that. So a couple of things that we were looking at was the proof of your nonprofit status with the IRS. There's a 501c3 letter that you usually apply for every year. We require that it only be submitted to us once every 5 years. So I'm looking for that. And again, it may be in this application, so I do apologize. We've been understaffed, and we are scrambling probably as much as my commission here.
No worries.
Whether your copies of your bylaws and your articles of incorporation were included?
Yes,
Okay. Source and amount of funding,
yes,
so it's question 8. And names and addresses of the current board members.
yes, all should be attached with
Okay.
those PDF files.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think this is the first year of application for funding, so maybe that's why some of that stuff wasn't on file, but
Sure.
go ahead, yeah.
Well, and I think Barb had reached out, and she looks at all of the applications prior to January 31, or once they're received. Like I said, I've been understaffed by 2. She's been working part-time in HR, and we've just been passing ships in the night. So I do apologize if I am not up to speed as well on things. So I may be reaching out to you for a little more information, you
Right,
and
so
everyone else.
In case one of those is missing, are we able to submit that, or, like, if you're missing?
If
say-
it's there and incomplete, or we had more questions, if it's there and we had more questions and we didn't reach out, I will reach out. If there was information that was not included, that was supposed to be included because it is part of our city code, it's under ordinance 659, which details everything that must be submitted at the time of the application. If it was not submitted, your application will not be considered.
Okay.
However, I will say we had a few problems with emails, and one application that we thought we never received, it actually bounced back, and we never even saw it come in. But when they did forward it to us through a secured server, it showed that they had tried to submit it prior to the deadline.
Okay, yeah, just
So-
let me know.
Thank you.
So, hello, so we are here representing the Grand Canyon Council with the Boy Scouts of America, specifically within the Lost Dutchman District that serves Mesa, Gilbert, Queen Creek, Santan, Apache Junction, Safford, and Globe. The reason we're here today is to ask for, thank you, for funding to grow scouting within your community here in AJ. Currently, we have a troop at Arches Academy where we're building a family pack, a troop for girls, and a troop for girls. Our hopes is to grow scouting within Apache Junction. Throughout my research, it would seem that there's minimal youth programs that deliver a consistent aims and methods for the youth, and we feel that is something that scouting can provide. We do deliver those consistent aims and methods through Cub Scouting all the way up to the troop level, and we offer a diverse group of programs for ages 5 to 18. So Cub Scouting, Troops, Scouts BSA, venturing crews, Explorer Posts. So for those older kids that want to explore jobs or things like that, they can go and do an Explorer Post, which we have one here growing at the Apache Junction Police Department. We have the Cub Scouts. Anyone familiar with Cub Scouting or interested? Okay. We do Cub Scouting here where it's very parent involved. And then, of course, Scouts BSA. Those are for the kids growing out of Cub Scouts, where that's more parent pullback and youth-led, where the kids really learn that leadership and development skills. Our program provides leadership, confidence building. They're volunteering in civic service. Yeah, do you have other things to add? I'm going a million miles an hour because I'm nervous.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'll share. As I was sharing, it's our goal with your support and your funding that we're able to grow the scouting programs here in the Apache Junction community. One of the things that it's at the forefront of as we look to grow those opportunities within a community is make sure that we're providing quality training opportunities for the adults as well. We operate through thousands of volunteers with a small staff, about 25, that serve the entire state of Arizona. And so one of the things we're looking for your support on is to have the financial resources to bring our team into the community, to establish new partnerships, and make sure that there's resources available for that group to promote the opportunities that are available, and then train those leaders so they're able to be not only trained in what they should do, but how they're able to operate safely as that's at the forefront of everything that we do, whether it's how to run an activity safely or to make sure that we are ensuring that those adults that are working with our youth are the right youth to be working with them. Some efforts that we have with that are youth protection training and our background checks that reoccur periodically as long as someone's registered with the Boy Scouts of America to make sure that we are maintaining the highest standards of youth protection at all times. The last thing that I did want to address, and it may have been a question that's come up a couple times, is we've been working with different community partners. The National Boy Scouts of America is going through a restructuring Chapter 11 bankruptcy. We are a separate 501c3 organization from them. We are not going through that. We are, however, contributing to that settlement fund, but we have already set aside the pathway to that. So any of the support that we receive from our community partners from cities like Apache Junction does not go towards that. So rest assured, the money stays here with locally so we can grow the scouting here in the Apache Junction community.
And just one more thing, from our last meeting, recurring theme that I kind of noticed is you're looking for organizations who are proactive, and that is us. We are proactive. We help these kids, not only the kids, but the adults, to be better leaders in their future. So once they're out of scouting, they eagle out. If you have a job application and you see an Eagle Scout and someone who's not, typically you go for the Eagle Scout because you know the commitment they've put in through. We invite you guys to come out and check out the camps and see what these kids can do. It's unbelievable. So we are that proactive organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So at this time, we'll open it up to the board for any questions.
I'm not familiar with the amount of scouting in the Apache Junction area. Can you give me a little background?
Sure. So currently, there's not a lot. We have one troop here, a troop for boys at the VFW, and that's why we're here, is we want to grow scouting here in AJ. I have 3 specific schools who are charter schools who are interested in wanting scouting within their school. Arches Academy has already signed the charter partner agreement to grow. So Apache Junction currently doesn't have a lot of scouting. It's just one troop, and hopefully we can triple that.
Thank you.
How many kids in the scout troop? And on your budget, you had down 0.24%. And what does that mean in dollars?
Are you asking how many current kids are in that specific
Yes.
troop? Oh, I believe there's 11 kids.
Okay.
And I believe in dollars, that's $620 per scout. Is that right?
And is that what you're asking then for your funding? Is that,
Can you clarify? Can you clarify the question that you're referring to?
okay, you had on here, what percentage of the project budget is being requested? And it said 0.24%. And then what percentage of your budget is requested funding?
Yeah, so the way that we look at that funding is we heavily subsidize the scouting program, and we don't charge, our actual cost per scout is $780, but we don't charge individual families that amount. We charge $50. And so that makes up the scouts that we currently serve, as well as the scouts that we hope to serve within the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is the notation then erroneous because my colleague pointed out that it's 0.24%? Or do you mean 24%?
I think they're talking about like the lost Dutchman budget,
Yeah, so
100.
in classic nomenclature, scientific, it would be 0.24% if that's what you were asking for. So it is a bit confusing because you do have a decimal point in front of the 24%.
I think it's out of,
See, I don't know if I remember that. I think what she's likely referring to is $10,000 is, what was that? Okay, it should be, I believe it's 24%, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
Of the
24% of the
entire-
10,000.
Yeah,
Okay, and I didn't see that sum listed either.
I did.
for 24%, what we're asking for is 10,000, which is 24% of the budget for the program. And
Okay, so,
like I said, I can't remember what page that was on.
Page 14.
Page 14.
see attached budget?
Didn't show up.
Yeah, so it does say see attached budget, but apparently it's not available.
I might have to check that one. That's definitely an answer that we can get for you to clarify that one without seeing that attached budget.
Okay, so if you could just sort of summarize then, the sum that you're asking from us as a portion of what you're gonna do is how much? How much are you requesting? 10,000? Okay, that clarifies that point. And I'd like to just make a general statement, please, for everybody. You see I wear glasses. And I'm telling you,
These are just for luck.
yeah. Some of this script is so micrographic that I took out a magnifying glass and I still couldn't read it. I believe these are called infinite cells, and that means that it'll continue to fill it as long as you input information. So could I ask everyone that is trying to put in a lot of information in what they perceive initially to be these small spaces, it really becomes encumbering because reading that is difficult to discern, okay? Lastly, it's just a sort of qualitative, quantitative issue, okay? What metrics are you gonna use to look at your funding and whether or not it's efficacious?
Yeah, so one of the primary ways it's a difficult thing for us to track, and that's one of the things that we struggle with, because we hopefully are working with scouts from when they're younger and don't see the full fruits of those efforts for, at many times, 10 to 12 years later. A couple of the immediate things that we look at is the community service that they return to the community, as that's a requirement in their growth process, as well as their rank advancements and the achievements that they make. We believe in recognizing the youth as they make accomplishments, and so one of the ways that we do track from even when they join very young to older, we track their progress on those advancements to know how active they are in the program. And it isn't always a perfect example because someone can be very active but choose not to pursue some of those advancements. But one of the primary ways that we do track them is, are they earning additional merit badges, Cub Scout adventures, and of course on their way to their progress to receive their Eagle Scout rank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question I just noticed, on the question, are there any community partners on this project? No, and I understand, it's a new project.
Well, we partner with all community partners. So for example, the volunteer and the civic service is something that is top priority in scouting. So if there's a community partner here in Apache Junction that says, hey, we would like a pack or troop to come out, or vice versa, the troop pack says, I would like to come out and help, that's your community partner right there. So yes, there's not a specific community partner yet, but out of all the community partners here, Scouts, BSA, and the troop and the Cubs are very willing to partner with them.
That is very good news. And to those in the audience, we have agencies that look and work very closely with our families and kids that might be at risk.
Exactly.
Scouting would be ideal. So I know, this year those partnerships may be developed, but really work on it as you become more involved in the community. I would like to see partnerships within this room that are really meeting the needs of particularly kids at risk and families that may be at risk.
Yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time here in AJ, not just throughout my scouting career, but previously in my previous job. And spoken to quite a few of the children and gotten to know them, and it just seems like the kids really need a consistent youth program, children at risk as well, even like food drives and things like that. The kids are on it, service projects and things like that, the things that the Scouts can do for the community, just as from a volunteer perspective, it's just wonderful. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, I think before you leave here, make sure you meet everybody from these different organizations, because I do think the Scouts, I don't see any reason why they couldn't be part of Make a Difference Day. I don't see any reason why they couldn't cook the meals at Genesis or help with our food bank, you know? So I see every one of these organizations in front of us that's gonna make this request, and I think you would definitely wanna partner with them as well, just from that networking aspect. I guess the question I always ask, not to be negative, but what would happen if you don't receive the funding? Like, what would we be losing as a community if this budget didn't get filled with these funds?
So what we would do is we would look for other sources that may be able to help us in the effort to grow scouting. We certainly wouldn't want to give up on our growth of scouting in the Apache Junction community. It may slow down the timeline in which we're able to grow, but I wouldn't go as far as saying we're not going to grow scouting here without it, because we'll seek other partners that may be able to help us achieve our mission that we want to achieve out here in Apache Junction.
Thank you. And then also, you said 11 kids right now. What is the goal then after receiving the funding? What's the goal for this year to grow these troops? I wrote down that you said troop for girls and a family pack, but I don't quite know what that means.
Sure. So for the Scouts BSA, we do separate the boys and the girls as a troop. So they'll be under the same unit, say Troop 726, but you'll have a troop for girls, and then you'll have a troop for boys. And then for a family pack, it's all the Cub Scouts, the young kids together. And what they do is they build dens according to ages. So you'll have bears, you'll have lions, you'll have weebelows, and it's all according to ages, so that makes the family pack.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say is if you're looking for a number, if we were to start all of those this year, we would hope to be able to get to 60, but with starting all of those new units.
Yeah, that'd be outstanding to see the progress of that too.
Absolutely.
So,
And your Arches Academy, their entire curriculum is based off the Scouts' values, aims, and methods, which is pretty cool.
it's a good partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, seeing no more questions, I just want to thank you for taking the chance to get up here. Don't be nervous, Abby.
Oh, I'm super nervous, Jeff.
So anyways, thank you for coming out and doing the presentation.
Thank you.
Jennifer, do we want to just go ahead and move on to the next organization? Okay. So next one I have listed here is Apache Junction Reach Out, the food bank.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to you tonight. My name is Myra Garcia. I'm the Executive Director of the Superstition Community Food Bank. The food bank has been in operation since 1983, and we service approximately 30 to 40,000 individuals in our community. But not only do we service Pinal County, we also do parts of Maricopa County. So the areas of interest are Apache Junction, Gold Canyon, Queen Creek, Northwest Pinal County, and East Mesa. We are the largest food bank in Pinal County, working with United Food Bank and St. Mary's Food Bank. And we distribute over 1 million pounds of food in a given year, which is approximately 900,000 meals to individuals struggling with food insecurity. My job very much is to be an advocate for those that are poor, that don't have access to food, and especially the group that we see struggling the most are our senior citizens and our children. Recently, in 2021, St. Mary's Food Bank moved the program over from their area to United Food Bank, which helps about 300 seniors get an extra box of food, and we handle that every third Thursday of the month. And that helps our seniors be able to save some money, so if they have to decide between getting medication or getting services, at least they have some food coming into their home. So we approximately assist 55% of Apache Junction residents. And what that means is that we have about 1 in 4 children and 1 in 7 senior citizens that are struggling with this problem. So, sorry. So what we're asking for is $50,000 to help us. So if you take a look at the times currently, unfortunately, we're seeing food costs go up. So right now, we're paying $1.18 per pound of food, which used to only be 87 cents. Not only that, we're seeing shortages in raw materials, and 40% of the grocery stores that used to give us rescued food has dropped significantly. So in essence, what we're having to do is make up that funding somehow by asking for other grants, asking other donors, and trying to find other resources for funding. But the majority of our concern is servicing Apache Junction residents. So we've seen, since I told you about the 87%, the 87 cents, that's a 26% increase in the food that we have to purchase. But not only that, we've also seen an increase in the fuel costs. And that affects us because we have 13 grocery stores that we pick up every four days a week to help us make up the food that we're trying to give out to individuals. So let me give you an example. Today, we served 117 individuals. That's 48 cars that came out to seek help from us. And that's a consistent number that we've seen. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not always that way, because during COVID, we did see fluctuation where it went up and down. But we're getting back into the area where we're seeing more and more people needing our help. The summer months, it's reduced a little bit, and what we try to do is get food drives to help us offset the cost. And so what we're asking today is to help us with the food purchase cost and then also our holiday cost for food. So thank you for your time. Any questions?
I
Go ahead.
I have a quick
Okay.
question. Can you just help me understand how you get to the 55% of serving AJ?
So what we do is we keep track in our database of how many AJ residents come in, and then we divide that by what our food costs is, and that's how we come to the realization of what the cost is and what the percentage is per person.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Is there a food bank in Gold Canyon, and how do you coordinate with them?
Yes, ma'am. So they're only open 2 days a week, and we're open 4 days a week. But when we do have a surplus of food, because they are a United Food Bank agency, we do partner with them, give them food, and they reciprocate to us as well. So we do work in partnership with that.
You've requested 50,000. What portion of your total budgeting for Apache Junction is that?
So we put aside $25,000 for food purchases. So I'd say that's roughly a quarter of our budget.
I'm sorry, 25 and 50 is 75, and if you're asking 50 from here, that's 3/4 of your budget.
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry. I'm not very math-oriented, I need my financial planner here.
Yeah.
So, sorry, but yes, you're correct.
Okay. You have no other sources to add to the revenue?
Oh, yes, sir, we do. So what we do is we apply for grant funding. We also go to other donors, and we have fundraising. So just this last year, I had to raise $30,000 to support our holiday food drive. And thankfully, I was able to do that, but sometimes it's not always an easy game to play, so. And you have to understand that the money that we have received from you, that's about $6,000 per quarter. So our average cost for food, because it has gone up, can go up to $8,000 to $10,000 per quarter.
The holiday food distribution, if you
Yes.
can talk a little bit more about it. I know that other smaller agencies also try to provide food boxes. Are you working with them, or are they doing their own independent things?
So what I've found is a lot of the agencies want to support their own programs. And what I've seen is the individuals that come to us, either they were not able to get into that program or something has happened. And so what we do is we give them a voucher to guarantee them that they will get a definite holiday meal. And I saw that we needed it for Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So we support 300 people per holiday. And at least that person can have something to eat, even if that other program wasn't able to help them. But I do reciprocate with other nonprofits. If they need food, they need a supplement, we're there to assist as well.
You know, I need to correct something. I too was an error in my math. So
Oh,
that the 50,000 is 67%, it's 2/3 of,
2/3.
right,
Okay.
yeah, okay. You talk about having 900,000 meals that were distributed. And if you do the math and you have 30,000 people, that means that roughly you have about 30 meals per individual.
Well, you have to understand, so what we do is we give food per family, per pound, per individual. So even though it may be 35 or 55, it's times 4, times 8. So that's how our poundage gets higher. And sometimes we see families coming in where there's a family of 11 or a family of 18, and you have people sharing along. So it becomes really taxing. And what I'm having to do right now is consider dropping the amount of food that I'm going to be able to give out because of the current situation where we're being faced with lower amounts of food coming into the food bank. So that means I may be able to give out 15 pounds per person. So, and I don't want to get to that point. I want to make sure that people have what they need, especially our seniors and our children.
Do you also work with Empowerment Systems?
We do,
and
we do.
Horizon? I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of some of
So
the others.
they've worked with us on nutrition planning, and we also work with them with the produce, and we get nutritionists to come in and they write articles for us as well. So, but they have a totally different mindset of what they want to do, but we've partnered recently with them with information about what's available in the community to help our clients out more. We also have our own list of organizations that are available in Apache Junction, and we provide that to our clients when needed.
So I have a few questions. I don't think any other board members have any. I was looking through the full application, like the 55-pager. Thank you for sending that. Something I noticed, rent was $1 through Pinal County until January 1st, 2021. What happened after that?
Oh, we received a new lease agreement, and we have that extended for the next 5 years.
Oh, good. And I was looking in the budget about education expenses.
Yes.
So I see most of it spent on food, which is fantastic. But what are the education expenses that you face?
So we were fortunate enough to get a donor that was concerned about making sure that education was a component in the food distribution, because obviously we want to get the people out of needing the service, not necessarily needing it all the time. So what I developed was a program called the Brain Booster Program, because I noticed a lot of children were coming through during COVID, not going to school. So we put together this kit that gives brand new age-appropriate books. We got that from another nonprofit, Kids Need to Read. We also worked with First Things First, and we put together these books. There's the resource guide, other information for parents, and then we put snack-appropriate foods for the children. And so that's the majority of what you're seeing, that spending is to go to that program. So 3 times a year during our holiday distribution, we make sure that Brain Booster program goes out to children and their families.
And there's a navigator position as well. Can you tell me what that position is, or the navigator that you have on staff?
I don't understand what you mean by navigator, sir.
I think I saw something about navigator. I wasn't sure if that was somebody who was helping with navigating people through that process. Oh, never mind.
No.
The other question I had was, is there any move towards client choice models at all, like some of the other food pantries I've seen? Is there any talk about doing something like that?
Okay, so United Food Bank is working towards that model right now. So they're going to be the component that we're going to utilize and study, first of all. I know that what we're looking for nationwide is they want to move people from relying on a food bank to maybe going into SNAP and utilizing SNAP a little bit more, but also being able to get their purchases through a food bank, which I don't know how that's going to work yet, but that is in the mix. But I won't be able to comment until I see how United Food Bank really handles that. But we work close to them all the time.
And I have 2 more
Sure.
quick questions. One is, we've talked about, as a board, about getting data collection and working out in the community. Are we able to partner with the clients that come through the food pantry to ask them questions, surveys? Are you guys able to do that to help the board gather information for the city?
Yeah, so because we are working with the Department of Economic Security, there's privacy issues, and they give us the database, which is called Link to Feed, which maintains all the information in there. So if you were to come and say, yes, we want to survey some of our clients, we would just need to get permission from DES and be specific that you're not getting personal information.
Yeah.
And once we get that approval, we'd be able to work with you a little bit more. We
And
can also do the surveys at the food bank for you and get the
Yeah.
raw data over.
And you would be willing to do that if the city
Of course,
needed to
yeah,
do that?
because it
Okay.
would be private then, so to speak. You would just
Yeah.
get the statistical data.
It's similar to what we did with the Pinal count of the homeless. That was,
Right,
sounds very
yeah.
similar. It's all anonymous.
Yeah.
My final question, what would happen if you did not receive the funding this year? It sounds like the holiday meals might not be happening, or if it wasn't the full 50,000.
So if we did not receive the full amount, that would mean that I would need to definitely reduce the amount of food that each individual gets at our food bank. And I would also continue fundraising with every means possible through grant writing, going out to the community. We've had some very wonderful organizations, business organizations help us. And we are funded. I mean, we are very responsible with the funding that we receive, and we make sure that the funding is utilized for that purpose. So
Yeah,
that's how I would
I did see
handle
that
it.
too. I liked the accounting records of specific. It was very easy to see that.
Good.
So thank you very much.
Thank you
If there's
for
no
your
other
time.
questions, appreciate it.
Myrna, if you'll stay there for just a moment. Oh, Myra, would you please stay there for a moment, please? So just so the commission knows, we went through their application. And
Yes.
everything was submitted. And so we had no issues with that. There were a few questions from council. One of them said, they wanted to make sure that your fundraising efforts with other entities and organizations continue. They wanted to know if you are working with any of the schools. They do have video programs, and possibly creating a video that would basically, for a family of 4, if they were to grocery shop and buy vegetables, fruits, and meat, and then divide that by portion size to do a cost estimate per person to help families understand portion control. What else did I have? And I think that was it.
Okay, so I just want to make sure. You want some kind of video that breaks down the cost?
Council inquired if you are working with any of the school districts,
Oh.
with the students who do video production, in considering producing a video for a family of 4, a weekly grocery list, kind of break down the cost per serving per family member based on portion control.
Sure. So, no, we're not working in that aspect right now, but I don't know if you know, the school district already has their own programming through United Food Bank, and United Food Bank provides them with the boxes, and so they get their own food that way. I'm happy to produce something and work with them, because I think it's really important.
So
but-
this was just to, so I'm a family of 4. I'm low income. I go to the food bank. I go to United Food Bank. I get other farmers market stuff. But I don't understand that if I cut my apple in half and give half to each child, it is just as nutritious as a whole apple.
Sure.
But the cost is cut in half. So my money goes farther if
Right.
I do portion control. I think that's where they were leading.
Okay.
And then a few other things. You were asking for $50,000, but you need to raise $30,000 to help offset additional food costs.
So that's what I found this year when we received the grant for the $26,000. That was able to help us throughout the year. That's $6,000 per quarter. And then I had to raise an additional $30,000 because the price of turkeys, hams, and other incidentals, the price went up significantly.
Thank you. They were just
Yeah.
looking for information.
Is that it? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next organization I see is New Leaf.
I have to pull my glasses down so I can see you, but then I have to have them on so I can read. Hello, I'm Dana Martinez. I'm the Director of Domestic and Sexual Violence Services for New Leaf. My colleague is Larry Grubbs. He's our Director of Grants and Contracts. And we are here today to request funding for the CAFA program. For those of you who may not know, CAFA merged with a New Leaf in July 1st of 2021. That has given a New Leaf the opportunity to provide administrative support and resources to ensure that the high quality of services that CAFA has been known for over the many years to continue in the Apache Junction community. We are hoping to reestablish and continue to build long-term relationships within the Apache Junction community as we serve families and survivors of domestic and sexual violence. We do have a 16-bed shelter here in Apache Junction, along with an emergency crisis response protocol where we use hotels for emergency situations that law enforcement, particularly the Apache Junction PD, can access for victims in need. When our shelter is full, we also have an outreach program that provides domestic violence and sexual violence advocates and lay legal advocates to members living in the community who may not necessarily need to go into a shelter. We have counseling services, support groups. We do alternative healing through various contracts with different providers. We have a Thrive program, which is housing stability and support for survivors. And we also provide food boxes for the general community in Apache Junction and surrounding areas. Our food box program, our food bank program is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and it is available at our administration office, and it helps to support members of the community with their food stability. Our funding for this is requesting $21,000. A portion of that money will help to fund our administrative support staff who runs the food box program for us. And then other funding is available to, or other funding is going to help us provide purchases for the food box program. As Myra had mentioned, the food box, we do work with United Food Bank as well, and their donations have been lower. And so we do need to maybe purchase food every once in a while as the amounts have lowered. And then also to help support domestic and sexual survivor victims as they need to access hotels through the crisis response program that we, again, partner with the law enforcement on. So we are happy to be in this community. This is a first for a New Leaf to be in the Pinal County area. We are looking to continue to expand other services that a New Leaf operates in the Pinal County Apache Junction area. We are currently in talks with Pinal County for some TBRA dollars to do tenant-based rental assistance, as well as other potential funding source opportunities as we branch out into the community. So that's all I have for you. What questions do you have for me?
I need to publicly declare that since I was a medical director for a New Leaf for over 4.5 years, I have to recuse myself from considering this application.
Do the commissioners have any questions?
Just a question, your food boxes, are they for individuals that are still in their own homes? Are they for individuals in hotels? Where are the individuals that are receiving the food boxes?
So the food boxes are for anyone in the community that wants to come in and get a food box. And then we also do provide them to people who are living in the shelter program, in the hotels, and in our outreach programs as well, as needed. But I will say the majority of people coming in for the food boxes are from the general community.
Yeah. One of the questions I noticed that your additional purchases were for meat and you're careful about, just how do you, eating when I lived in a hotel for 6 months when I was on active duty with military. It is not fun to try to eat.
No,
when you're in a
it's
hotel.
not. Sometimes, so what we do a lot of times when we get the donations from the food bank, the smaller, like easier to eat portioned items, we hold aside for those people in the hotels or people who may be homeless, because those are easier for them than, taking a big pack of frozen chicken, right? So we try to keep those items set aside for those individuals. We work with the food bank provides us TFAP bags. So everybody that comes in the door can grab a TFAP bag. And then any additional items we have a pantry system where we it's their choice to pick what other items they want in addition to the TFAP bag. So they get the TFAP bag and then whatever additional items they may want from what we have that's been donated to us, or that we have purchased. Some of it we purchase as well.
So what you're saying is that you're purchasing from the AJ Food Bank, or is this coming directly from United Food Bank?
Directly from United Food Bank, yeah.
Okay. Would it, I don't know, be better to purchase everything from the local food bank?
I honestly was not aware there was a local food bank. This was the process that was set up when we came in and took over in the merger. The people who set this up are no longer with the agency, so I've had struggle trying to find out what all that process was been prior. And so that is certainly a consideration we can make. We're trying to still figure out all the ins and outs of that food bank process.
I'm just looking at it as duplicate kind of services.
So I had a few questions. First question is, what efforts are made to ensure that the funding goes to Apache Junction residents specifically, just because of the service area?
So we looked at the number of people who came in to the food bank from Apache Junction, and it is a good portion of the people that we serve. It's at least 50% of the people we serve are from Apache Junction. And so that's what we base our funding on.
And I think you might have answered this one somewhat with the last question that Judy answered, but so you don't currently overlap or partner with other organizations like our food bank, Genesis Project, or Salvation Army?
Not at the time. Genesis Project, we have connected with on a few occasions. And then I recently found out who Trinity was. And I have her card on my desk to connect with her more.
Yeah. And what happens if you did not receive the full amount of funding or did not receive the funding from the council?
So to provide the administrative support staff that we have right now who runs our food bank, we would need to seek other grant funding or philanthropic dollars. Philanthropic dollars in our organization are already pretty tight, so we would need to find other funding for that. For the hotel motel costs, again, we would have to look for other resources for that funding. We have found hotel costs are going up too, And so, especially in this area, they're going up across the board, actually. But yeah, they're getting more expensive. So we would have to review all of our other funding opportunities to where we could get that funding.
Is there a way to separate those two costs, like the hotel motel costs that are helping the victims versus also the food bank? And just in case we want to avoid any duplication of efforts.
Yeah, I think we specifically requested, trying to find it in the budget here. Where do I have it?
30% food box program?
We have $5,700
here.
specifically for the hotels.
Yeah.
And then the rest is all related to the food box items.
And I guess just one other thing I'm thinking of, is there any efforts made to talk to the local hoteliers, the ones who own the properties, if there's any negotiated rates that they could do per need or?
We have attempted to do that. We have a community engagement coordinator I've hired to research a lot of that. She's gone to several hotels in the community. Because the hotel industry has really fluctuated through the pandemic, there's a lot of hesitancy right now to give us a reduced rate, but they are willing to provide us with, a small discount when it's not the high volume season. So, yeah, we've been working on that really hard because we use hotels in some of our other programs, and so that has been a priority for us.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know if there's ways to improve that, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, quick question.
Sure.
You mentioned other grants and so forth. Do you do other fundraising at all?
Yes, as an agency, we, our philanthropy department is tasked with raising about $5 million a year. So we do fundraising on a very regular basis.
And you said you serve Apache Junction and Mesa. Is that the area, or does your area go further?
So our area is, are you talking about for food box, just in general?
Yeah.
And we just serve anyone in general that is a victim of domestic or sexual violence.
Okay.
We can go anywhere in the valley. We prefer to stay in the Pinal County, East Mesa area, but we've served people as far as like Phoenix in some cases, specifically with our domestic and sexual violence services. Some of our services are virtual, and so that helps us be able to do that. We have a virtual support group, and our advocates can work remotely as they need to. So we can serve anyone that is a victim of sexual and domestic violence. Our food box program is more specific to the Apache Junction, eastern Pinal County area.
Thank you.
With your, breadth of service throughout the Phoenix area, are you able to identify residents of Apache Junction that are actually being serviced in other communities? I know a lot of times, they wouldn't want to stay here, but maybe stay in a shelter. That would be a way. Do you have any of those numbers? Are you able to?
I don't
Identify
have
them.
those numbers specifically being served in other parts of the valley. We are working with our current database provider to be able to help us better identify people from individual cities. So hopefully this time next year I could provide you that data. But yes, we know that people who've experienced, sexual and domestic violence, they don't want to typically stay in the same area. And so, while currently we've served 56 individuals from Apache Junction in those programs for this current year, the first 9 months of this current year, I don't know how many we've served in the rest of our programs. Sorry.
Might be helpful.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We're working on that.
Okay, that 30%, how much is that going to be that you're requesting?
So we're actually requesting 1.5% of our total budget. I believe that 30% is just the food box program. That's just the food box program, so I don't know what the total is on that. That's different than our total overall budget.
But it's the 1.5%?
1.5% of our total overall budget, yeah.
I don't think we have any further questions, so I just want to thank you, Dana, for taking your time out.
All right, thank you.
Actually, Dana, would you stay there, please, for a moment? I had a council member reach out and inquire what was the purpose of CAFA and what is now New Leaf's purpose. And their other question was dealing with your business hours. They felt that domestic violence occurs Friday evening and over the weekends, and you were not available or open to deal with the domestic violence issues. And they were inquiring where, because your business hours, I think, are, and I'm only quoting, daytime hours, regular, like 8 to 5, and they were wondering what was happening to those domestic violence individuals.
So, to answer that question, the outreach hours are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. But our crisis hotline has been transferred to Safe DVS, which is the hotline for all of the Maricopa County area and Apache Junction area that is available 24/7. So if somebody needs services after hours, they can call that hotline and they can get a hold of somebody and get access to resources 24/7. Also, our shelter program is open 24/7, and so if they can't get a hold of the Safe DVS hotline, which sometimes they get put on hold and they're not happy with that, they can call our shelter, and our shelter can provide some services.
So you mentioned a hotline. They're going to ask me, what did you say? I can't.
Sorry, it's the Safe DVS hotline,
Save?
SAF as in Frank, E, DVS. That's the hotline.
Okay. And then there was a shelter hotline as well?
The shelter number, the
Shelter
CAFA
number?
shelter number,
Okay.
I don't have it off the top of my head because
That's okay.
it's saved in my phone. I don't remember numbers anymore.
They're going to ask me, and I will look it up later.
Okay.
And then I
And then
think,
the first question, you asked another question to me.
CAFA, what was the main purpose of CAFA? I'm not sure they understood all the variables, like you mentioned, shelter, something, everything dealing, they thought it was mostly for domestic violence. And then they saw your application and saw it was food, it was other things other than just really focused on domestic violence. You've got homelessness, things like that.
Yeah, so CAFA's CAFA was first opened over 20 years ago to support survivors of domestic violence. Over the years, and as the need has grown, they branched out into serving survivors of sexual violence as well. And then at some point, they also started opening the food bank program. And I think that they saw the need for the survivors they were serving needing the food box program. And CAFA's budget for its DV and SV programs has never included food. And so I think that they recognized that that was a need for those survivors. And at the same time, within the community, it was a need as well. So that's why I believe they opened the food bank program, food box program, to support the general community as well as the survivors that they were serving. A New Leaf's mission is helping families changing lives, and we have over 30 different programs to support our community and the needs of our community. We do have programs to support people experiencing homelessness, other domestic violence and sexual violence services. We have foster care programs. We have counseling centers, health and wellness. We have a community action agency. So a lot of different programs to help our community.
And I think that they're very familiar with the old CAFA and was surprised to see so many, as you call it, you've branched out to 30 other services supplied, because they were, their last question was, in the finances, is there a way to break down, I know with domestic violence, you cannot break down the number of AJ residents served because we do partner with other communities, and they realize that some of them are shipped out of the community, and that we receive others, and they were okay with that, but they're looking to see if there was a breakdown as the percentage of your budget that goes towards domestic violence, the percentage that goes to food services, homelessness, legal advocacy, and like you said, foster care. Or if you could supply that.
Larry, you want to help with that one? Larry's our grants person, so he's
There you
going to
go.
know a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Commission members. Larry Grubbs, Director of Government Grants and Contracts at A New Leaf. I appreciate the comments and the concern about making sure that the funding is serving AJ residents. That's not unique to Apache Junction, and it's definitely a priority across many of our government contracts. So that is something, Dana is correct. We do track that differently within each program, and if the council members or if the committee members are interested in seeing those specific numbers for AJ residents, we can look at our various programs and pull those numbers in and get them to you.
Thank you. I will let them know. That's all I had, Chair Mitchell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Salvation Army.
Okay, hi there. My name is Captain Maureen Lawless. I'm kind of filling in for Captain Darla Malone, so forgive me if I don't have all the answers as far as the specifics. I didn't write any of this. So our grant writers, we are basically united around our divisional headquarters, which is out of Phoenix. So that's where I come from. So we are, as you know, faith-based, and we try to serve the underserved, mostly the homeless and the less fortunate. We do a lot of different services, from the food pantry to personal hygiene. We try to reach out to the homeless. They come by or we go out. We're working on a program to go out to them and trying to figure that out at one point. But we mostly serve food pantry as well. We have a lot of stores that the United Food Bank has set up for us, so we get a lot of food from 4 different stores. And then we also get the TFAP bags and that we store, and we're also involved with the emergency services food, EFSP, and we've got several, a good source coming from there. We do work with all the or as many as we can with the different nonprofits in town, so we collaborate. Some resources we have, we try to share with them, and we are trying to grow our program a little bit so that our people are aware, both donors, volunteers, and clients, aware that we're here. Sometimes I feel that we're in the corner down there and we're not. So we're working on programs to see if we can expand our just the knowledge that we're down there. And we do a great deal with our Phoenix location about heat relief. So we do every year, we work with the Maricopa Association, and we're part of that heat relief partnership. We get free water and various supplies. So we get, and we do that, and we bring them inside. If they need heat relief, we're preparing our facility for that. And let's see, what else? I am hoping to purchase some MREs as well, which is our self-heating, so that they don't have to cook, and so they can take them out on the wherever they are, and because they could store those longer, and we work with an Eastern company that will supply us with a reasonable amount of food, and so that's another option for food. And I think we serve over nearly 6,000 to 10,000 people a year, and that's large families, small families, all kinds of families. Let's see, I don't know. We do a lot of fundraising. We have both personal, private fundraising. Christmas, as you know, is our big iconic fundraiser. We do a lot of toy distributions, and I believe they do food as well. I wasn't in on that this year, so I'm not sure. But we try to I think we did nearly 250 families or children, I'm not sure, with servicing them for Christmas. We do also have a grant writer that helps me write these grants, and a big development group down in Phoenix that helps us to get corporations involved, and a variety of different things that they can build up and support our facility down here. I really depend on them for their expertise to help me build it up. Yeah, I didn't know there was a beep. Okay, so, I think that's pretty much it, and, that I know of at the moment, that I can think. So, I guess we can do questions. Did we get everything too? I don't know.
I'm just looking at, you do someplace for washing their clothes, showers, access to basic utilities. How do you do that?
Yes, we do have a shower in our facility that we allow. It's only one, so we have to have a system in which they could take their turns. We're still working on getting a washer dryer, so we have a place where we can do that. So we're still working on that part, but we have the ability to do that. And on particular days, we'd have to make arrangements for to do those things and have the staff. We are funding a staff member as well as services to help try to do that and accommodate them so that we can give them a time to get clean and whatnot.
Is that the Broadway facility?
Yes.
Or is that on Broadway?
That's right,
Okay.
yes.
Can you talk a little more about, you have here that part of the funding is for the case manager.
Correct.
This is a new position that has not been previously?
Actually, no, it has, I believe this is our gal that's been helping with the food distribution, and every day, I believe that's the position we're referring to. So you've supported it in the last year, I think, at least, and I appreciate that, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's ongoing, she's already been there for a while.
The limited supplies also, can you talk a little more about what type of supplies you mentioned a little bit, but.
Hygiene?
The budget, one of the line items on the budget is human need, and it kind of cuts out from the print copy. So, if you could maybe talk a
Yeah,
little bit more
human
about.
needs supplies is what we're looking at.
Human needs supplies?
Right.
It's not really broken down.
Page 12.
Oh,
14.
Yeah, well, yours is 12, no, 14.
If I can help you, I'm happy to help.
okay,
So
thank
this was shampoo, conditioners, soap, razors, shaving cream, just the basic needs that you have when cleanliness, toothpaste, toothbrushes, things like that.
Okay.
Right, we have a whole supply room full of those kind of things. We also have a few clothing. We can't do too much of that, but we have shirts and whatnot that we try to supply. But a lot of that, yeah. And sunscreen, things like that. So to take showers, they'll come in and use some of those to take showers too.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of cleaning supplies, so shampoo and things like that they can borrow. Yeah. People love to give those things.
So the total request is 39,600.
Yeah, so we're, as a nonprofit, our divisional headquarters, that would be the support services and our, basically doing all the billing from there and all the accounting from there. So that part is like a 10% of that. And then our case manager, and I believe that's quarterly, yeah? So that's pretty much all that. And then, of course, we have a pretty large budget, so that's, we get funding from other grants as well, but mostly private donors. Our biggest donors are private, and so that's kind of exciting. And we get ongoing donors every month, the same donors at every month, so it's kind of fun to see that.
The statement here says, what percentage of your budget is the requested funding? And it says 5%. If we take that 5% and 39, let's say 40,000, that means $800,000 is your total budget, is that correct?
I believe it is probably like that, yes, I think it's here. I haven't been there very long, so trying to get my I've been there since January, so forgive me. I believe the budget is here somewhere. Yes, it's nearly, that, if not. I'm looking at a territorial, and I'm like, that doesn't work for me.
Right.
So, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. It's at least 800 to $1 million.
That was a question I was gonna ask you, because you did include, and I don't know if that's just because you wanted to broadly cover, you had Western Territorial Division and their budget. So, did you include that because you get a X percentage of that budget, or?
Actually, we do. They do help support us from the divisional headquarters. But
Do you know what percentage of their budget?
I don't know the
you get?
percentage, but it's about 15,000.
Okay.
So it's not huge, but I think it's that. I'm sorry, I'm
No, that,
Yeah.
just coming up short.
With the grant writer not being somebody that is familiar with, they're not here in Apache Junction, is what it seems like. So when they wrote the
That's correct.
request,
I think I was
Yeah.
catching up a little bit when I
Yeah.
came in January, quite honest with you.
yeah,
I was catching up, just trying to figure out what
Yeah.
was here. And the reports were due and all of that. So our grant writer, the person who
Mhm.
wrote this grant, is our development director. So
Yeah.
he was using some of the figures that we were trying to give him, and I was trying to put it together. So
yeah,
I feel like it was a kind of a piecemeal thing, but
yeah.
we tried to put it
Seems that
together
way.
as best as I knew how.
And just with that being the case, with leadership kind of being in flux, do you know how we know that there's a guarantee that the money's going to be used in Apache Junction for
Yeah.
our residents in Apache Junction?
That's a good question.
Where's the accountability?
Well, we'll always have someone here. I don't know the prospect of whose
Mhm.
it will be,
Yeah,
but somebody will be here. Every year we have moves that go out in June, and so somebody will be here. If it isn't me or Darla,
Mhm.
it'll be someone. So, and the development director and the grant writer are on it as well. So we also have a social service person who has helped us a lot with this. She is fairly new in her position as well. So she's been there maybe 6 months and in a big support of trying to get this all together for us.
Mhm.
So we will be accountable to you. We will use this as best as we know how to do. I apologize for being kind of
yeah. Well, I ask the tough
unknowledgeable.
questions because when we go before city council, they ask those tough questions.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
we want to know that the money is definitely being
Yeah.
here, not Western
Oh,
Territorial.
no, that
Yeah.
each grant that's written
Mhm.
for the Salvation Army is very directed to every local area that we write grants for.
Mhm.
On page 4, you have a demographic listing for 2021. You have that non-duplicate individuals, 3,921. 60% female, 40% males, and then you have 85% Caucasian, 9% black, and 6% other. You have the zip codes and 85120. Doesn't that include Gold Canyon, 120?
No, I think 120 is still AJ.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
pretty
And
sure.
I know 119 is, and 85208?
I have a 120 zip code and I'm an Apache Junction resident, so.
Okay. Is 85208, is that Apache Junction?
Not that I'm aware of. Dave? No.
When-
The 85119 and the 85120 is Apache Junction.
Right, okay.
85118, I believe, is Gold Canyon.
Oh, okay, there you
Thank-
go, that might be it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know who 208 is.
But, so,
Mesa.
because you include this in this number of 3,921, these are the zip code areas. It's only 3%, that's not a large portion, but by definition, then that's not a segment of the population that belongs to Apache Junction that's being serviced by this award.
Right. All I can say is that our database will pull those numbers, and it's probably what our grant writer used. Right, so I think that's how that got in there. But I don't, again, it's hard to, sometimes it's hard to separate where they actually live, you know? So they might have an address somewhere where they don't really reside, you know what I mean? So I'm not sure where some of them reside. So we actually have addresses, or people that don't have addresses at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think to your point, though, there's only about 57% accounted for anyway,
So
if you look at the numbers.
Chair Mitchell, Commissioner Kinner, and Brennan. So I think what we have seen at staff is there's been significant change in leadership across several organizations between COVID and the changes. We noticed we were really pushing to see applications come in. So I think we're all struggling with changes and shortness of staff and new people and new positions. The data on this, I did hear a comment that, you know, we're talking millions for the Salvation Army, and that council would like to see a better breakdown of those dollars that are actually for your budget for Apache Junction within the programs, because this covers a tremendous amount of information that is not Apache Junction related.
Yeah, when we make those recommendations, they have a lot of tough questions. And so that's the main thing that, you know, again, I mean, maybe it's good to, if we had to, could we reach out to a grant writer, or could they come?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
I don't want to beat you up, because it sounds like it's clear you don't know exactly some of these answers, and I don't want to put you under that microscope. So.
I didn't have enough advance, I guess, to understand what this meeting was entirely, so I could reach out to them and have them, for sure.
If there's more clarification
Yes,
needed
absolutely.
when we make those decisions,
bet.
I think that would be appropriate. But just a couple quick questions, maybe in follow-up. So what partnerships do you have right now with other organizations such as our food bank, Genesis?
We work a lot with Genesis, although I haven't met them quite. I mean, I've heard of Trinity. I haven't quite seen her yet. So we try to supply food, especially that's already packaged or pre-made, and because they do feed people. We also try to give bulk food to them, or as many as we can. Oh my gosh, I wish I had my people with me, because they know all the people in AJ. I live in Phoenix, so I'm not as familiar, but oh gosh, community feeding, Horizon, is there, so I don't have all the list. But they certainly could list them off.
I would definitely recommend having more of an AJ focus. Getting
Absolutely.
people from AJ here when making the request from AJ,
I
just
tried.
because that's a clear thing, and I think it comes out in the presentation today.
Absolutely,
But
betcha.
you know, again, and if you were not receiving any funding or didn't receive it, what would happen if we didn't give you that amount?
Well, I think it would definitely put a difficulty in as far as what our funding is Apache does have a shortfall of budget, and that's why I don't think my divisional money was correct. It must be more than that. But they would have to fund it more from the divisional aspect, so more of the metro community. And our division covers 2 states, so all of the 2 states funnel into our division somehow. And then so I actually work with our service extension units. That's my other job. And some of that money that comes from the rural community comes in to support some of our local area too. So we would have to depend some on that.
Well, if there's no further questions, thank you for taking the time out, Maureen.
Thank you. I appreciate all you do.
Next, we have Genesis Project.
Hello, I am Trinity Cole with Genesis Project, and we have applied for funding to support the Community Resource Center. The Community Resource Center is hosted at Genesis Project, but is a separate entity of Genesis Project, provided as an outreach solution to people in need of more than one service. The Community Resource Center invites any local agency, social service agency, to come in and provide their services to folks in the community as well as those that are at Genesis Project. We have noticed over the years that what the community needs is a one-stop shop type solution to social services in the community. So Genesis Project, in partnership with the Community Resource Center, is hosted in our Unit 11, which is also our clothing closet, hygiene resources, our heat relief. We've got a lounge, and then the 3 private offices in the back for any agency that comes in and is willing to partner in getting those services to the community. We understand at Genesis Project that it takes more than a hot meal to alleviate abject poverty in someone's life. We also know that the demographic of people we work with are largely unable to make the connections on their own of getting these services all lined up. When you have the need to access multiple services and no public transportation, maybe nothing other than a bicycle to ride, getting to different agencies, keeping track of appointments, trying to apply for things online, making phone calls, those are things that the people we see don't have access to. With the Community Resource Center, we provide access to telephones, to internet, we've got laptops in there, anything that we need. We routinely see people that are referred to us from DES with assistance or for assistance in filling out DES applications for food stamps, emergency cash assistance, healthcare, any of those things. We also provide space for agencies that are going to come in and offer things like cell phones and tablets, healthcare, job services, Horizon Health and Wellness, any of those places that we can make connections. We had just a really cool story that happened today as part of the Community Resource Center. We had a gentleman that came to Apache Junction on a Greyhound bus 5 days ago to meet up with his sister. He got to the address, his sister was not there. The Greyhound lost his luggage. He was told that Genesis is a safe place for him to come. He came there, he sought me out, and he confided, well, not even confided, let me know that he had been off his medication for 5 days. He was hearing voices. He was hungry. He was unsure what to do, but he knew that we were a safe place because someone told him that. I was able to quickly get a hold of Horizon Health and Wellness. We got a crisis worker out there, and he was transported to safety at a mental health facility within a matter of hours, and that is just one example of what the Community Resource Center provides in being able to bring all those resources together in one place. I think that's all.
You know, in looking over your proposal, you have that, you want to have a navigator, or if you will, an ombudsman that integrates care. What other agencies have you already contacted to see if you can coordinate that effort if you were to get this sort of grant?
As far as coordinating and utilizing their navigator services?
No, utilizing their services. The suggestion of your proposal is the navigator would align things with access, would align things with perhaps even a primary care provider to deal with medical issues, would align with the food bank to see whether or not those services would be there. And you've listed that it would be functional from 11:30 to 2:30, which would be Monday through Friday, which would be 15 hours, but your navigator is only there 12 hours. So my question is, have you arranged for some relationships with these potential organizations so you do have a referral source when people come in and are looking for that?
Absolutely. We partner with all of the local agencies. We have agencies that come in every single day of the week to provide their services. A navigator role, and we have had a navigator on site since the beginning of COVID when a lot of the other agencies had closed down. And a navigator essentially is someone who just comes alongside this person and assists them in accessing these things. So when the gentleman came to me today, me in a unofficial navigator role was able to figure out exactly what his needs were and then make direct contact with the agency that was there to help him. So we have people that come in that they need housing, for instance. Well, in order to apply for the housing program, you need your ID, you need your birth certificate, you need a copy of your award letter, all those things. Those 3 things alone can just be a mountain that is unable to be climbed by an individual. So as a navigator, the navigator then takes them and gets their ID for them, and then files for the Social Security card, and then files for the birth records, that type of thing. And so then it's all done in that central location with one person making coordination of those benefits.
But that's an interesting point, because again, you have one person that's going to be there, and assumedly, they're not an automata, they're not a robot, so they're going to have vacation time and other things. So it's interesting because you have delegation per your request for funding for 12 hours a week. My assumption is for the full 52 weeks a year, correct? Okay. And I assume you're going to have individuals that fill in. In other words, there are people that learn these skills and how to do this service and do these things. Can you help me understand how you came up with the hours of 11:30 to 2:30 as prime hours for when you want to operate?
So that aligns with the Genesis Project hours. So we are open for hot meals from 12 to 2 p.m. every single day. Or I'm sorry, Sunday through Friday, and then Saturdays as posted. So we bring in special serving groups for those Saturdays. And then the Resource Center is open that 11:30. Generally, guests arrive a little bit early and then stay a little bit late. So that 11:30 to 2:30 is the prime time when guests are on site at Genesis.
Okay. But you've said that the service that you want to provide is to individuals that are disabled, elderly, people that have lack of transportation and other things. How do they access that time frame?
They've been doing it for many years. We've been in operation since 2006.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an ongoing. It's been our hours 12 to 2. There is fluctuation with agencies that need to make appointments. For instance, CARA, we have services in Eloy that serve Pinal County. Obviously, Apache Junction is Pinal County, so if they need to make an appointment at 10 a.m., they get a hold of me. We make sure the Resource Center is open for them. So there is fluctuation in these agencies that need to conduct appointments during off hours.
Can you give us a little bit more information about how many agencies per month are coming in? I looked on your website, I couldn't, in the past, I saw a schedule with agencies, and maybe it's someplace other than I was looking. I couldn't find any schedule. But, other than in 2018, I think there were like 8 different agencies that came in and it was listed. Do you have how many agencies right now are coming in? And I know COVID has really impacted, and I'm hoping, and I'm hoping that you can say it's increasing as we're getting out of that era. But, and where is the information for a person that's coming to Genesis to know that particular day or time that particular agency will be there? If you can maybe just address a little bit more so people can understand what amount of partnership is going on and kind of where you're headed with that.
So COVID did take a lot down as far as that, which is why we brought in the navigator that has been acting in that place, because so many agencies were shut down and needs weren't being met. So we realized that as a community-focused organization, we needed to meet those needs regardless. People still needed their IDs. People still needed all of those things. So currently we have NCHP, which is Veteran Service Organization. We have Horizon Health and Wellness. We have United Healthcare, Medicare. We've got a cell phone provider. We've got the tablet provider. have other side ministries, which is culinary training. We have all of those that schedule. I was recently told that we are in the process of updating our website. We had to do a rebuild of our website, and our calendar feature is broken on the website. So you are absolutely correct. It could not be accessed at that time. We also had a change in volunteer staffing as far as the Community Resource Center Facebook page went, and we're in the process of retaking control of that page, I guess is the best way to say. We need to do like a password reset, that type of stuff, so.
Okay, yeah, that, in the past, I did see, and, visiting it, seeing the interaction going on, and there were, I was very impressed with the number of agencies, and I would really hope that the agencies within our community, if they don't know how important it is to have a community resource center, and there is one right here, centralized, that they, to really network and be there even virtually to help fulfill the needs of the people that come.
Yeah, and as Dana had mentioned, we recently, with CAFA, were able to have a young man that had been a victim of domestic violence and came. He knew that it was a safe place to come, able to make a direct connection right there. So that is just a huge benefit of all community resources coming together in that centralized location.
Same question I think I've asked for the most. Other fundraising that you might be doing. I noticed you mentioned a Mad Hatter Tea Party, but that's been kind of suspended, but.
Yes, so as far as fundraising events, then that was our number one once a year fundraising event. We have not been able to have groups of people, obviously no one can. So we do fundraising as far as going to local events that we're invited to speak. I will be speaking at a pickleball group tomorrow night with a couple hundred people. We go to most of the RV resorts and go there. They do fundraisers for us. Yeah.
Thank you.
So as far as specific events, that one got crushed, and it was really sad because it's super fun. But we will do it again someday. But yeah, it's community outreach for fundraising at this point.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have a heck of a lot of questions about Genesis. I'm pretty familiar with the organization. I've cooked there before on the weekends with Rev Chef Jason, so have had some experience with them. I did want to point out one thing just to the board. When I shared this information with the pit count, the point in time count, reason it says Genesis Project on it, that's where the majority of the surveys were completed, because that's where people are going in our community to eat. Like, they go during the day. And one of the things I found, I think I collected 15 surveys, but Trinity was instantly able to identify the duplicates because she knows the community. So I think it's important that we know that there's a relationship on the ground. And I guess the only question I would have, Trinity, is if you didn't receive the funding, what would then happen? Would you have to cut back on the navigator? Would you have to, rent utilities? We did that last year, but this navigator is kind of a new thing. What would happen if it wasn't provided or we couldn't do that?
Genesis Project would not be able to fund the navigator position. It is
Right.
not something that we could fund. I would definitely attempt to look into other grant opportunities of that, but
Yeah. Do you know who you're going to hire for that position already, or what has the situation been like for that community navigator role?
so we have had the same navigator in place for 2 years, but I know as far as hiring and grant applications and that type of thing, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there would need to be an application process and consideration of all applicants for the position.
So this is somebody new in addition to who you already have? Okay.
We would give the opportunity. He's been there for 2 years. He has established those relationships. I have guided him and trained him in all of the things that I've pulled together for the community in the 13 years that I have been with Genesis Project. But again, there's a lot of talent in Apache Junction, and it's not written in a way that we have a shoe in the door, so to speak. But yes, we do have someone who has operated on a volunteer level at the Community Resource Center.
Mhm.
Okay, and I have a question.
Yeah.
And my page is blank, so maybe it's, filled out somewhere else, but what percentage of the project budget are you requesting?
I'm sorry?
What percentage of the budget are you requesting?
So for the navigator position, 100%.
100%?
Yep.
Okay.
And the yearly budget for Genesis project is right about 260,000.
Dr. Brennan, can you do the math on that one for us real quick? 260 to.
I think it's about 7%, and I didn't do that in my head, but I heard you asking other people, so I Googled percentage calculator.
So about 7%.
Full disclosure.
We just see a blank
Preemptive,
page
okay.
there.
Yeah, so 7% is the,
So just for clarity, then all you're asking is the 9,600 for the navigator?
I'm requesting the rent and utilities for the community service center as well,
So
which
the
has,
2280?
yes,
800, sorry, okay.
yep.
Yeah. And that's similar in dollar amounts to last year from what I remember seeing, the rent utilities. So the new thing on here was the navigator. That's why I wrote down navigator. Sorry for asking the wrong agency, but now I got, that's what I was gonna talk about. Yeah.
That's why I raised my hand so you knew that.
Like me.
Yeah, it's me.
Anybody else have any questions, or should we move on to the next organization? Jennifer, anything?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have Apache Junction CDC listed next. And I do thank everybody for their patience if we haven't called you up yet. So-
Jennifer, before we start, do you have anything for us?
Dave, how about if you guys go ahead, because that way you get into your data and your dollars and what you're doing with your project, and I am looking at mine, and no, I'll reach out later, because it's just a minor thing. I just want an update on some information, that's it.
I'm Dave Walter, I'm the board chair. This is Jim Duncan, the vice chair. I'm the boss, he's doing the work.
He's going to be my backup to answer questions. We didn't put a presentation together, but we have a very simple request this year. And the request is basically to keep the Apache Junction CDC afloat, because our administrative and operating costs are all that we're requesting this year. It involves the insurance. We have 3 different insurance policies that we have to carry because of the nature of what we do. I'm so sorry. I was trying to keep that water going for the last half hour. And it's very difficult and it's very expensive, but we do have to pay for those, and those are things that come out of the budget, and it's 100% of what we're asking for this year. I went through the report, and as you see, it's very simple. We do not have any auditing. We do in-house. We have a staff liaison that helps us with the monetary portion of it, because we also do many other projects instead of just the revitalization. Many of you are familiar with the Make a Difference Stay. And in that process, we have various accounts, and I'll just use one as an example. The median account is something that over the years, we've had donations to improve that, and that is then represented in a median account that is handled and maintained and only goes to the median beautification project. And those stay there over the years. They don't go away every year. But we have to have our insurance and all the other facilities and the administrative and operating costs to succeed. 100% volunteer. We do not have a paid staff member whatsoever. So we have 8 board members that volunteer their times. We go out to the various projects. But the 2 main things that I listed were the revitalization, which is taking care of those that cannot do it themselves. What happens is we all have life-changing events. It happens to the best of us because I've seen it. And when that happens, we have no other source to help us in those life-changing events when it comes to the exterior property maintenance of our homes, then we have to be losing our home because of it. And that's eventually down the street. down the road. And I don't want to get into the details, but that's just a major portion of what we do. Make a Difference Day is one of the funnest days that I've ever been involved in. And I cannot thank the people of this town for coming out. And we ask for volunteers, we ask for site captains, and we ask for information on what you want to do. We have a website that we've established, and it's only 3 years old on the website. Before, it was people trying to pick up the phone to call somebody that we don't have manned 24/7. It's a very simple agency, and we do the best we can. I think I would better serve in answering any questions that you may have, because we are unique. We're not just a one type of agency that serves certain needs. We do the exterior, and we help those that can't help themselves. So, with that, if you have any questions, I did include in the packet, when there was a placement where we didn't have, like we don't have an audit report, but we do have a financial spreadsheet that is maintained. Like I was telling you, we have the different accounts. So that's what you'll see on those. When you see that median account, the focal point, we've set up the focal point to be pretty much self-funding. When we do the brick donations, we take those physically, a volunteer goes clear across town to North Phoenix. It's an hour round trip just to have the brick engraved. So, and those are the things that aren't in the accounting, especially nowadays with $4.60 in gas. A lot of board members donate their time and money in regards to the CDC that really isn't seen, and we're working on trying to capture those, because I know it's very important. In fact, the very last quarter that we reported, second quarter, which was with Make a Difference Day, the city funded $1,500 for that quarter. We calculated that we brought into the city in that day about $13,380, and that included all of the Modern Woodmen Association, Ace Kabats for giving us the tools. Everything was included in that, and it goes a long way. We just don't have the time to circle back and do it, and we know that's important, and we want to do it. We just need to get some more volunteers. So anybody that wants to join, I know we're all busy.
And
So
just,
let me answer any questions you might have. I think you're chomping at the bit.
real quick, Jennifer, they met the requirements for the auditing, right? So
They
we're
did.
fine. Yeah.
In fact, we changed that because Genesis Project and a few others, CDC, the interpretation of an audited report, I think everyone was under the impression it had to be a certified CPA. It does not. If they have a general accounting and they provide us with that accounting such as this, we are
It met the
accepting.
requirements, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, then don't worry about the accounting aspect, so. Any other questions from the
Yeah,
board?
and we also turned in the receipts. We do that
Yeah.
on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Got 'em.
Okay,
Sorry for the big bundle.
and I'm not sure if I need to recuse myself, only because I was a recipient of their help. I had a huge Palo Verde tree fall and almost hit the house, and they came out and helped remove.
Within the
all-
last 2 years?
Last year, I believe it
Was
was.
it a year ago, yeah.
Okay. When it comes time to vote on your funding recommendation, you can vote on everybody else's if you'd like to recuse yourself, just so that there is the non-appearance of impropriety. We can do that.
Okay, thank you,
I
guys.
did want to say, we didn't know she was on the commission. We did it anyways.
Well, I can,
We
thank
don't,
you.
we don't filter out anybody. In fact, you'll notice, we do not list
Yeah.
dates of our, or addresses of our projects until they contact us. And that's why we had to establish the website. We need the direct contact with the individuals. We're not going to publish the projects of helping out somebody who is vulnerable to the world. We just don't want to do that. When you call to volunteer, we will get you the information, and then you can help come and clean up the project. So
Well, and
we would do it for anybody.
Yeah.
And I also volunteered too to paint bricks.
Absolutely.
So,
She was a site captain at the focal point to revitalize some of the
Yeah.
bricks. And that's another thing, that we need volunteers. We had 5 sites this last year for Make a Difference Day. It was a record. I would like to see 2 more. next year.
How do you
So,
decide what projects you're going to take on? There wasn't much in the packet, so how do you decide what projects you're going to take on?
the board of directors decides on it. We meet every fourth Wednesday, and right now, we're taking suggestions from the community. We have a ex officio, Gail Evans, Councilmember Evans, who actually makes announcements for us at the council meetings, letting everybody know we've got something coming up, send us in. Very easy to contact us, ApacheJunctionCdc.com, and it's got everything you need on the website. You send us an email, there's phone numbers listed. It was one of the things we did, 2-3 years ago? Because we really didn't have that ability to have that interaction with the community, and now we are.
But we're looking for community input to decide what
Yes.
those projects will be.
So can you give me an example, though, of some of, I know we talked about a tree.
An example
but,
would be just a simple, you live in a neighborhood and you know this neighbor is disabled, elderly, and they have a code case. You would contact us on their behalf because they may not even know about us, or we may not have even heard about it through the code compliance department. We can actually make that a part of the Make a Difference Day if it's real close. Another thing is if you live close to a park. We partner with Parks and Rec, we partner with our Public Works Department. Like I said, when we do the median, we actually had a couple of requests come in already that we're looking at as well. One of them is increasing the median shade so that we can get shade trees for more sustainability. So when we get those, that's when we go after the donations and everything that puts together the project. Silly Mountain was another project, and it was given to us, and we partnered with the Master Gardeners Association. So we have a lot of meetings that go on during this whole part, and a lot of them are with Parks and Rec because they're the boss, and Public Works also.
My question, I can see how leveraging what you do with other community agencies and churches. Have you been able to, do a presentation in churches and try to mobilize them to help, even within their congregations, there are people, but, the things that you do could be even replicated for that particular group of people. How do you, two people standing in front of us have, so many things that I think can really reflect on our community and help our community be better. But I think, looking at agencies and groups and in churches in particular, I think would have a heart for an elderly person that they already know may have issues. Can you talk about that?
We do get that, and that's, they come through the website. So they'll go onto the website, they'll hit the contact us button or submit a project. We've got 3 different areas, the revitalization, we've got the beautification and so forth. So it is there, yes, and we do get them, yes. One gentleman that we had on a project that we call the mega of all projects actually found us through our website, which I was astounded because he was paying a fine already. It was at that stage, and it's already cost the city a lot of money just to go through that process. We want to get involved before that happens. Our goal is to lessen the burden on our local government. That's what our goal is, and we do it through volunteers and in-kind donations so that it doesn't cost. That's why I say a 9x return on your dollar is pretty good, I think, I hope.
You note that there are 50 code violations per the individual that monitors that. But how many individuals monitor that for Apache Junction? What's the total number of code violations, do you know?
Right now, I think, and there is a website, by the way, that the city's done a great job. They just brought it live. If you go into the city, Apache Junction, AZ.gov, I think is the new website link, but there's a place on there where you can click on GIS. And the GIS has a segment now that shows code violations, and it's mapped. So if you want to see your neighborhood, you could actually go there and expand it out, because it's the entire city, but there's like 335 open code cases right now, at least the last I looked.
So how do you rate those to see which ones you intervene in?
Oh, it's because of the need. They have to be financially, they need, it's elderly, veterans, people that don't have the source to do it. And like I said, it's usually what I call a life event. The main breadwinner had a stroke.
Right.
Can't barely raise his left arm. And it's been that way for 2 years. The truck is still sitting in the front yard from the last job he went to. And the whole family suffered because now the wife has to step up, and she's already working a job. So it's life events, and they're all different.
And the goal is to keep them out of court.
Certainly.
You know, they're in a code compliance situation, and this will keep them from having to go to court, and the city having to expend those funds and create a further burden for the family. So we don't do cases where they're capable of doing it on their own. We only look for the ones that need the help because of disability or whatever.
So I noted that you talk about numbers on the curb, so that places can be identified by emergency services, by the fire department, what have you. Those are really valuable. They really are. I mean, it seems simple, but they are. Nonetheless, we have the Boy Scout, Girl Scouts here. I think that could be delegated to them as a project and probably meet a need.
Great Make a Difference State project.
Okay, there you go.
Because we have to compile the list now so that we can do it on the day of, if we want to do it that way. So I think that's a great idea. If you know anybody in the Boy Scout troop, have them send us a note. What we do is,
I'm taking notes in the back.
what we need is a coordinator that will do that. You
Right.
got to remember, we're a 7, 8-member board. Each one of us has an expertise that is unbelievable.
Right.
And with that expertise, then we just go out and do the things that need to be done. So,
Yeah,
just
and-
like,
And, you know, not to be overly pedantic, but I'm going to get there. You talk about best practices. And can you help me understand what you use as best practices?
the best practice is probably the last project we just finished. It was an 1.25 acre property
Yeah.
that has 90% coverage of garbage,
Well,
other than the house. And I don't think, if any of you haven't seen it, because we've been showing the before and after, we just finished it. It took us 3 months, over 65 volunteer hours. We took out 6 metal rollouts of metal recycled and 5 more garbage to the dump. And every garbage that we take costs approximately $500. So if we would have done the whole thing garbage, well, first of all, we didn't have the money to do it, because that's a big project. First thing we had to do is go find the funding, get the funding, ask Republic Services for more I mean, we can only ask them so much. They do a great job with us, but we got it done. And that's the best practice.
And we partnered with a metal recycler to come in and haul the metal away, and whatever money he got from was his. He did us a service by doing it. It didn't cost us a thing.
This project would have normally cost $10,000 to have done. Homeowner didn't have to spend a penny because he didn't have a penny. He was paying a $1,000 fine on $300 a month that he could afford. So it was, that's why I call it the mega project. When we first looked at it, we thought, we don't know how we're going to do this. But it's like anything else. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? And that's what we do.
So those are really excellent examples, honest, and they demonstrate that you resolved what it was the code issue, but on top of that, you resolved health issues, et cetera. And the reason I bring that up, remember, I'm a physician, and when you have a goal of happy citizens, that's not measurable, guys. What you just gave is, I mean, honest, that sort of data is able to be measured. You say, this was a lot that was completely contaminated with garbage, had the prospects of health-related issues, as well as a disabled individual that couldn't remedy the problem directly, and therefore created a double problem because he was being hit with fines that compromised him financially, but as well potentially encumbered his health because of how horrible his environment was. So you guys did a great job.
We can measure that happiness as we left him a little area of junk that he could tinker with for the rest of his life.
You know, I understand, but wait, so I'm gonna get really, really off the wall with you. You could tell somebody, look, I'm gonna fix this, and they might say, boy, that really makes me happy, and then you say, well, you know, but we didn't come up with the money to do that, and so are they still happy? So that's my point, you know, happy citizen is not a measurable quality, honest. It's not there.
If they
But
smile
what you're
when we
talking about, as you have that stuff, and actually I would encourage all the other applicants, there are resources available at ASU via the Department of Business and their graduate program, and they have graduate students that, by virtue of what they're required to do, would give time to providing a way for you to have some measurability to what your results are. The same is true for public health, okay? Or public administration, I beg your pardon.
It's hard for us to do a lot of detailed on the measuring results because we try and keep our clients confidential to the most that we can.
Right.
And so if we try and do this, and this, then it becomes a little more tedious. Plus the fact we need to be spending our time in the yard, not on the computer type of thing.
Certainly. But I mean, you want to demonstrate that the
Yes.
dollars that Apache Junction or anybody else gives you
Absolutely.
have benefit to the community, and I think that does it in a very substantive way. That's all.
That's why we're trying to go to those quarterly reports so that we can put those monetary monies in there instead of, we did 8 projects. I mean, for all of last year, our physical year, we were with the same year as the city cycle. We did 13 projects. This year alone, we're already up to that number. And we still have a whole quarter left.
Chairman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilmember Gail Evans reports usually every council meeting of
Yep.
what the CDC is up to. And the last project that they mentioned, they partnered with Republic Services. It was an astronomical project for them
Oh, yeah.
to do. And so not only is that in the video for council, it's also in council minutes if anyone's looking to see what CDC is doing.
Any other questions from other board members? So I think that what you're doing is really a tremendous example of the ethos of what I understand this particular program to be, where the council wants to help Apache Junction residents with projects that are going to pay dividends, right? And I can see that. I mean, you did demonstrate it with the 13,338, because I mean, I was one of the volunteers in the picture. The drone took the picture, right? There was 100 of us, right? And he put me to work at Silly Mountain for a couple hours, so tried to keep up with the football team. Probably not a good idea in my current state of affairs physically, but yeah, I like what you're doing. I think this is awesome. But I think, I guess the question would be, if you didn't receive the funding, what would you do to handle those costs? Is it something that would cause this to fall apart? Would it not be part of the community?
I can only tell you what happened in the history of the CDC. I wasn't on the board at the time, but in 2008, there was no funding. There was no CDC. But it was because of the hard times. 2010, it came back, and the CDC was revitalized to a bigger capacity to what we're doing now, and now we're trying to be a little more reportive of what we do with that funding. You got to remember, $1,500 getting back the 13, there was a lot of donors, like I had said, and the volunteers. Because without the volunteers, without the donors, and without the city, thank you, we wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be on the board.
And I think it's great you're selling the T-shirts too,
And
because
we are trying to do
yeah.
some fundraisers. We are.
Yeah.
And these shirts are all, the sponsors on the back of these shirts pay for the
Oh, yeah.
shirts.
I got it.
Yeah. That's a
Chairman
conversation I had with Jeff
Mitchell,
Struble about that
I
too.
think also, I think you have failed to mention that you get the Boy Scout troops out there. You've had the football team out there.
Yep.
So,
I love it.
yeah.
One of the biggest volunteer organizations that helps us is the justserve.org volunteer. It's really, really big, missionaries. And they've put in the majority of the hours in the smaller groups, when we need the smaller projects, like the 10 to 15 individuals that come, they're from out of state, and
Yeah.
we've got people from Kansas that have never seen a gopher snake before, which we thought was a rattler at first, but it turned out okay. That's the reason for the insurance policies.
To what extent or can you partner with the other organizations in this room? For example, maybe a site could be serving the food on Make a Difference Day. Maybe you cover the food service for Genesis, or picking up the food that goes to the food bank, helping ease their cost of transportation. Or are you guys in conversations with other organizations here in this room to help?
We
Help with that?
we invite anyone that wants to attend our monthly meetings. We have it every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. We have it via Zoom right now. That was the first thing we did when COVID hit, is we pivoted and went to Zoom, and it really made a difference in our community because we're outside. So we were able to 6-foot physical distance. We could wear masks. A lot of times we wear masks right now anyways, because when you're dealing with rats, you need to have some protection. That was one of the last projects that we were working on. So, yes.
And we did partner with Genesis on cleaning up that area over there. Had some people over there to help clean that up. So we do that type of partnering. We just recruited the Boy Scouts back there.
And another small example is this big project that we did. This individual had, I think it was 20 pairs of brand-new shoes. We're going to throw those away? No. We took them over to Genesis. I think it was like 10 pairs of
That's
tennies
excellent.
and 10 pairs of boots. Whatever we can do, we recycle it into the community. That's our goal. We don't have the money to go pay for garbages over to the dump all the time. We have to be creative in everything we do.
I think the comment about utilization of students to help you with some of the paperwork burden, the planning, the documentation, what you do would make amazing projects for some of, like ASU urban planning students. There are programs that a student would really be elated to be able to help you with.
The interns, yeah.
Yeah, they're obligated to have projects that they complete, and you would be ideal. It would serve a double function then. You would have greater detail, measurability, and you demonstrate exactly what it is that is benefited by the dollars that are used.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the challenges we have is wherever we do these things, we have to have the resources. I mean, we're all using our own computers if we have one for the things that we do.
Right.
I was lucky I retired from PepsiCo, and that's all I did. But now I get to go out and do some outdoor stuff because I love the outdoors. But yes, I'm new. But it's one of those things where we don't have a physical building. We use the city address where our staff liaison is, and that gets us into being able to apply for grants. But the city is not in direct partnership with us. The city is funding us, and thus they also give us a help so that we have that telephone conversation, because it is the city. It is our citizens. And we appreciate it. Did I say that yet?
Yeah. Well, and also using CAC too would, since it's local, they might be a good.
And the football team, the coach wants them out in the community, so, Jeffrey was saying there, serve them out and just work with us.
Yes. So we bring those ideas in for Make a Difference Day next year. We're at 6 months and counting down right now. So it takes a long time to put this together when you're dealing with old guys like us.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Be blessed.
Oh.
Nope.
Oh, good, we're clean.
And we are in no way showing favoritism, but last organization, Boys and Girls Club, thank you.
So what's this one?
All right, right, good evening. Thank you, everyone, for your time. My name is Emily Dennis. I oversee our grants and foundations over at Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley. This is Angie Davis, who oversees our Superstition Mountain branch. Just as a reminder, Boys and Girls Clubs of the East Valley and Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Phoenix merged in 2020, creating Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley. So we are now one complete organization serving 27 sites, 2 here in Pinal County. Specifically, this request, of course, is for our Superstition Mountain branch. Our Health and Human Services request is for $35,000 to support our programming and staff at the branch. Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley empowers all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring members of the community. We do this through high-quality, intentional out-of-school time programming, where we focus on 4 priority outcomes: academic success, healthy lifestyles, good character and leadership, career pathways, and workforce readiness. Our outcomes and outputs for this initiative are to improve the academic success of these youth that we're serving, engage them in healthy lifestyles, and demonstrate pro-social and leadership traits among those youth. We measure this through surveys and pre- and post-tests throughout the year. This is a continuous program that will serve low to moderate income youth who reside in Apache Junction. We, of course, serve other youth from other cities, but this funding would go specifically to those AJ residents. Last year, I think we're trending around 100 AJ members at the club with about 360 total. Let's see. I did take notes from your other questions, and I will try to get ahead of them here. I do want to mention, too, that we serve a hot meal and snack every day after school for our kids as well and through our summer programming. Our request represents 12% of our project budget and then 0.18% of our entire operating budget for the organization. Our biggest community partners are our schools, community groups like the Rotary, dedicated volunteers and donors, and of course our government entities such as yourself. As a prime partner, we appreciate your investment, but understand you have limited funding and many worthy causes to support with tough decisions to make. So if unable to fund our requests, we of course would gladly accept partial funding and would continue our outreach and diverse fundraising efforts to support our Superstition Mountain Club. We also wanted to put in a quick plug here that after a 2-year hiatus, we are pleased to announce that our yesteryear events hosted by our Board of Directors for the Superstition Mountain Branch will be taking place again in person on April 9th at Dolce Vita from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. And the theme is fairy tale and hero costumes. Angie here would like to mention a few things about our programs and highlight some of the great things happening at the club.
So recently, our club moved from Idaho to Ironwood. We're in the TLC building. Whenever we moved, we were seeing roughly 60 to 65 members a day. Our first week when we moved, our average daily attendance jumped to 92 that week. So we were afraid that we were going to quickly outgrow our new facility. It is going well. Some of our programs that the members are excited about, we are offering dance, an opportunity for them to be able to express themselves through dance, learn different kinds of dance. We also have our Power Hour homework time, but we also are doing teaching our kids to code through a WASED program. This is something new. We have done Lego robotics before, but this is something that will bring it all the way back to our kindergartners to where they're able to learn to code also. With that, then we also have soccer going on right now. And during spring break, we did Ultimate Journey program, which gets the kids outdoors. It teaches them a little bit about reduce, reuse, recycle, growing things. Our kids learned about birds take flight. And one of our projects that we did with them was using different types of materials to pick up small food, like what different birds would be using. They enjoyed that very much. We have a tower garden in our club to where we can grow vegetables indoors. In my previous experience with Boys and Girls Club, we had used that as a gear towards getting kids to try new things. So it's just seeing the smiles on their faces every day when they come in, not knowing which program area they're going to go to, but wanting to stay longer hours at the club and asking parents not to pick them up until it's dark.
So relative to the Power Hour homework, do you have individuals there that have expertise in math, science, other things, or how does that work? How do they get mentored?
In each of our areas, we have our groups broken down, kindergarten first and second, third and fourth, fifth and up, and then we have our teens. So among our staff, somebody is good in math, somebody's good in the different subjects, so it just depends on who's there and where we need to run. So like, I can't say I'm 100% in math, but that was I was going for my math major, so math is like a puzzle for me. So it's like, usually if somebody's having trouble with math, that's where I go with the higher grades. But like with kindergarten first, it's something easier for the staff to have, but we all have something that we linger to or that draws us to where we're able to help the members be successful.
Do you correlate any data that shows what sort of academic improvement your program facilitates?
So we, in general, with the Boys and Girls Club, it shows through statistics like years ago, for every kid that attends the club at least once a week, that's 52 days a year, it shows that their grades improve, their grade point average improves, to where then it's like if we go 2 days, we're already at 104. So each time it increases by the more days that they're there, we see an increase in our grades. Our summer programs, we did a LEAP enrichment program during the summer, which focused on math and reading and literature and positive actions, all of those within our kids. We do reading, like the reading test that they do in the schools, so the Dibbles testing, to where they read a story at the beginning, and then we do the retell. Whatever story they read at the beginning, they do the same one at the end. So it's showing us how us in those 8 weeks of summer are improving those reading grades for those kids. We also encourage our kids to let us see their report cards. Like today, we get 3 kids that get off the bus, and I made the president's list this time. We celebrate, we encourage that, and it's like, we know even with parents' input, we're recording how each of those academic areas are working throughout the club and all of our members.
We're also working with the state right now to work in conjunction for a data sharing agreement with the schools so we can have more access to that data. So some clubs have better access for their schools sharing report cards. We don't have that agreement right now, so it's not a standard. But we do also have the qualitative surveys, and then with the summer program, that was a more pre and post-test survey that we were able to measure. So we're constantly looking at other ways to measure that throughout the year.
Unless I'm conflating other applications, you all equally deal with ACEs, the Adverse Childhood Experiences, and your staff is educated in childhood trauma and its interventions?
We do have those trainings available for our staff, so it's like we have a Padlet where our staff can go in and choose what programs that they want to get a little bit more training on. Sometimes we have them just come in-house to do that training.
Okay. Actually, that's really an excellent format, and the sooner you can get into that and progress, the better. Socialization is a really good format for preemptively preventing future violence.
Right.
It's amazing what that can do. It seems simplistic, but it really has benefit and is there. Aside from that, let me see. You talked about 92 individuals a day.
On average.
Yeah, on average. And so what do you think your capacity is?
I know at our old facility during the summer, we had 115 last summer. So it's like this summer we just had 3 group homes that came to us for the spring break, and each of those have about 12 kids. So we're expecting to see those again for the summer. As far as what rooms we have currently, I would say we could probably do 120, but we're also, with the facility that we're into the talks that maybe for the summer that we are able to gain a couple more rooms to be able to help with that at the end of the school year.
So I've monopolized a lot of this. I have one last question. You talked about indoor gardening. Is that done with like aquaponics? How are you growing things inside?
I cannot give you the exact term of what it is. It is a tower garden. It's like a great big container with a motor that will flush the water up through the top.
Right, yeah, there.
It has the...
With vertical growth?
It's got the lights on it. We set the timers. The members themselves are the ones that get to plant the seeds and put the other stuff over it. We pop it in and we do it on a Friday, and by Monday we see stuff growing. And that's incentive for the kids to want to try. If they're taking part in doing something, they're more apt to want to try it. Like when we do yoga, we do our healthy lifestyles, and they're making the food that the yoga person is telling us about. It's more apt that they want to try new things. So it's like, just giving those experiences.
Right. So, as that's probably hydroponics and et cetera, but the question that was broached earlier with another organization was, is there education about the nutritional attributes of these things that you're growing so that people can be educated about a healthier diet, if you will? And is because these are individuals probably that don't have a robust income, is there any division of the spoils, if you will, after you grow things? How does that work out?
I found that they are willing to try it. Like, we'll do crackers, we'll do a spread, we'll do a tomato, we'll do a lettuce leaf, you know, kind of whatever that they want to put on it. But I'm like, you've got a lot of kids right now that salad is a disgusting thing when it's sitting on the table. Not going to touch it, I'm not going to eat it. But what I found with doing the different types of lettuce, it's like, oh, if somebody else is trying it, we all went together, I'm going to be more apt to try it. And it's like, it doesn't have to be something big, just something little. And we're hoping, you know, that it's like, it's something that the kids will catch on to. And it's like, oh, this was fun. I've done groups with the lady that brought our tower garden in, that we went and did like salad jars. So it's like, we would put different proteins in it, and it would be a jar with our salad dressing in it. And we've talked about having the parents come in at nights and just do like soup jars, like whatever we could put in this to add to a soup for the family, but it's all healthy, it's all protein, everything is counted out for them. But it just makes, the more people that you have telling them how healthy it is and how good it is for them, not everything healthy is good for the kids, they think, but it's like, if they see somebody else and be able to be part of that, it makes a big difference.
Thanks.
On your budget, you have one PTE and one FTE. How many hours is a part-time youth? It's a youth development specialist. How many hours are you looking at?
You know what they were?
So right now, our part-time work 4 to 5 hours throughout the week, but for the summer, we try to push them up 6 to 7 hours. And with our numbers right now where we're at, it's the staff that we need so that we can make sure that our ratios are where they need to be.
Mhm.
And do you have, still have the 5 core areas? Are, you know, your educational programs?
For youth
everything?
development, yeah.
For youth
there's 5
development?
key elements to youth development, which I don't have memorized, they're written, but.
It is our high-yield activities, our focused target programs, it is our positive the 5 key elements, the fun,
Fun with a purpose.
opportunities, recognition, safe place, and supportive relationships.
Okay.
She's the youth expert, I work in an office, can you tell?
Did I get it, Judy?
You got it. You got it.
Do we have any other questions from other board members? I guess just the only question is, I see here it's divided equally between both positions on here. So if, for example, we were not able to award the full amount or anything like that, in that case, what would happen to those positions? Would somebody just not have a job, or how are you going to allocate that?
Absolutely not. No, we have many other funding sources that we make sure that is covered by. So we would not eliminate any positions. We would not decrease our services to our youth. We know that's very important, so we would make it work.
Yeah, I don't want them blaming us for the lack of
That-
Cheerios and goldfish crackers or something.
Do not let Angie not have a job because you choose not to. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Chairman Mitchell, I have a
questions?
question for the
Yep.
ladies. I've got a note that says the programs that you are requesting funding for are the same as last funding cycle. So these 2 positions currently exist. They are currently funded through other fundraising efforts that you do. Is that correct?
Correct, in addition to your support.
Okay. And I think one other item was based on the finance report. It seemed to encompass, a significant amount of Boys and Girls Clubs across the valley. And was there a breakout of the Apache Junction residents that you serve?
So we did include the proposed operating budget for the site, actually the old one here. Detailed expenditure statement for just the Superstition Mountain branch, which was coming in around $332,000 just to operate that branch, and it breaks it down in the line items. That was 2021, so of course 21-22 would show an increase. Actually, we're in 22-23, aren't we? For funding requests, so that would show increases throughout those fiscal years. And so if you need an actual breakdown per kid served, we could follow up with that information.
Council may ask that question.
Okay.
And council will all ask everyone what their budget is for Apache Junction.
Yeah.
If I might recommend that you watch the council meeting from last year when Chair Mitchell presented to council, they had some very serious, hard questions that they asked, and he did an excellent job at his trying to answer them. So you will also receive an invitation to attend that council meeting where he does his presentation to council with the funding recommendation of this board. And I would suggest that you be there to answer questions from council. But you'll get an email from us, actually me, because I'll be the only one handling this now.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time
Thank
on
you.
that too. And yeah, it is a difficult process. You know, that meeting, I get asked a lot of questions by the council members, and you know, they hand it to us to make the recommendations, and we have $80,000 to recommend. You know, so the total amounts, as I'm doing the math, is $184,660 that's been requested. So it's difficult. And if I was being tough on anybody asking questions and grilling anybody, I hope it doesn't seem like the Inquisition, but that's what happens because everybody wants to know that the dollars are being used appropriately and for the right things. But I just have to say, wow, thank you guys for the presentations. I think this was a huge improvement over just emailing questions last year. I really got a good sense as to what every organization is doing. And I know our meetings are usually an hour long and we're pushing 3 hours. So, but I think this was totally engaging and there's a lot to think about. So I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out to come here and do this. Moving along in the agenda today, we have information reports, which is the announcement of community events. Does anybody have announcements on the board?
You know, if anyone looked at the local paper, there was an interesting aside. There was an article related to Maricopa Community Colleges and a 3-hour curriculum that tuition would be paid for to allow people to work at Intel. And that seems to me to be an entree sort of thing into a technical field with further subsidy of education going forward. But it was in the newspaper and I had it, but because the agenda said no new stuff, I left it at home. It's on my desk, but I'll be glad to bring it next time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we've got an Easter egg hunt coming up in April with Park and Rec, so make sure you check that out. Probably on Park and Rec's website would be a great place to find it. And I'm trying to think of anything else. All our tribute bands through the chamber are done, I think. And so it was a great season. We had over 19 tribute bands that came out, and I think we had 23, 24 total of all the bands that were out here. And ABBA and, of course, the Eagles was sold out about 2 months ago. So it was a great season. And I just want to thank all of our winter visitors for coming out, and especially the ones from Canada. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Michelle, did you have any announcements? Well, I wanted to invite everybody to the Rotary Club of Superstition Mountains. We do have weekly meetings every Wednesday at noon at the Gold Canyon Golf Resort. We have a Rotary Week of Service coming up, and this is on April 15th and April 18th, so the CDC guys might want to get some people available for this. On April 15th, we're going to go to the Apache Junction High School and paint the student parking spaces. So it's Good Friday, it's a holiday for the students, so they won't be there, so the parking lot's empty. So we have free reign to paint it, but there's 250 parking spaces, so I feel like after putting numbers on for a while, I'm gonna need some help. Also, on the 18th, we're gonna paint the curbs red. all the paint is kind of faded there, so we're gonna get that, those supplies and do that as a service project. So we'd love help for those two projects. The Kiwanis Club, the next meeting is April 28th at the Salvation Army, so we invite everybody to come and attend that. And I also had written down the April 9th Boys and Girls Club fundraiser, as Angela Davis announced at our Rotary Club meeting. So Dulce Vita, 3301 South Goldfield Road, and from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., and dress like Batman or something. So, staff liaisons report?
I have nothing to report at this time, Chairman Mitchell. I just would like to say that these meetings are scheduled for the fourth Monday, once a month at 5 p.m. Sometimes they will need to be adjusted because that falls on a city council work study session night. But you will see emails from me inviting you to the next meeting where they will discuss, I guess I do have something, where they will discuss dividing the funding. I think that's all I have.
Yep, and then that would be here in this boardroom on April 25th at 5 p.m. So I guess I will adjourn the meeting right at 7:30. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What was your painting event?